Hey everybody, it's Rev J with Rev J Rides again. Over these last couple of weeks, we've been looking at the book of John, the Gospel of John, and I kind of want to go through all of John, pretty much, kind of hit the highlights over this next few months, maybe. This will be the third week we've been in John. We're still in chapter 1. I'm on verse 13 right now. Last week we talked about verse 12, where it says, "But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God." Okay? So we talked about how by receiving Jesus, we can become part of God's family through receiving Jesus. But those who reject him are not part of God's family. A lot of people will say, all God's children blank. Well, if you're talking about the entirety of the human race, we're not all God's children. Only those who have received Jesus are part of God's children. But let's move on to the next verse, where it says in verse 13, again, let me read 12 so it makes sense. "But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God." Now, here is something that really was sort of devastating to the way of thinking of the Jewish person of that day, and probably is devastating to a lot of people, and why they don't want to think about Jesus or Christ or Christianity. We're not born of blood. Now, back in that day, they put a lot of stock in having the blood of an Israelite. Are you an Israelite? They put a lot of stock in that. And they traced each other's bloodline and that sort of thing to see where you went back. Are you an Israelite? God had made some promises to the Israelites, and that's a fact. And I still believe those promises are still true. Although not every flesh and blood Israelite, I think, I do believe that he's talking about a spiritual Israelite, but I think he does watch over the physical Israelites too. But the point of this is, we are not in God's family just because of our bloodline. There's a lot of people that traced a lot of bloodlines. Back in the old days in England, they traced their bloodlines. Israelites traced their bloodlines, on and on. And we put a lot of stock in that. You need to put a little less stock in who you are physically and more stock in who God says we are. We need to put more stock in who God says we are than what our blood says. We're not born of blood nor of the will of the flesh. We can't just say, I want to be saved. We can't just say, well, I think I'm ready to go to heaven. I'd rather go to heaven than hell. We can't just say, I choose heaven. I choose whatever. It is not of the will of the flesh. Salvation, or the right to become a child of God's, is really only given by God. It's his will. Who will he give that to? That's up to him. And you may say, well, that doesn't sound fair. Oh, God is more than fair. God created us all. He's the shaper of the clay. He's the potter. We are the clay. He can smash us back up and start over again. That's up to him. He's the potter. He's more than fair. He gives all of us a chance. He did everything possible so that you and I could be in his family. But he has this foreknowledge about who would receive him or who would not receive him. And so those who have had hardened their hearts against God will not receive him. And those who do receive him become part of the family of God. But that invitation is from him. Not everybody hears that invitation. Why? Well, because some people's heart is already hard. They've already hated God, and they've already loved their life, the life that they've decided to build. And oftentimes, what I mean by that is they've loved darkness rather than light. God is light. God, when He saves us and we come into the light, we're not going to be able to bring our darkness. So there's a lot of people that are like, man, I don't know that I want to go to heaven because there's not a lot of cool stuff going on there. All the cool stuff's going to be taking place in the other place. No, that's not true. But they think that way because they know that a lot of the stuff that they love won't be allowed in heaven. And if you're a person who is hesitant about heaven because you like something that would not fit, you better start praying that your mindset changes, that God changes your heart and opens your ears to the gospel. Because there is not going to be anything you like in hell. Nothing that a person likes will be in hell. God is love. If you like love, then you better be in heaven. Since God is life, you better be in heaven, not hell. Because in hell, all there is death. So think about that. I would just like to say to you, hey, I've got some people coming into this place. I'd like to say to you, please think about that, pray about it, see if God is leading you to a relationship with Jesus. If you need some help with that, reach out to me. And then also, I would say, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.